Every month, the average American household sends a check to the power company for $137. That's $1,644 per year. Over a typical 30-year mortgage, you will pay nearly $50,000 just to keep your lights on. And here's the part they never tell you in school. None of that money generates a single asset. You're renting electrons. Every single month, the meter resets to zero, and the billing cycle starts over. You own nothing. The utility company owns the wire, the transformer, the meter, and effectively your comfort. Today we're breaking that dependency for the price of a pizza. The physics of electricity generation is embarrassingly simple. Every generator on Earth, from a nuclear power plant to a wind turbine, operates on the same principle discovered by Michael Faraday in 1831. Move a magnet past a coil of copper wire and electrons flow. That's it. There is no secret. There is no proprietary technology. A spinning magnet and a coil of wire. The $2 trillion global electricity industry is built entirely on that one physical interaction. The only question is, what makes the magnet spin? In a coal plant, they burn coal to boil water to make steam to spin a turbine to spin a magnet. 4 conversion steps, each one losing energy. The overall efficiency is about 33%. You start with coal and lose 2/3 of the energy before it even reaches the wire. Then it travels through hundreds of miles of transmission lines, losing another 5 to 8%. By the time it reaches your outlet, you're paying for 3 units of energy to receive one. The economics are designed to be wasteful. Because the more waste, the more fuel they sell. But what if you skip all of that? What if the magnet spins without burning anything? A permanent magnet alternator, or PMA, does exactly that. You attach permanent neodymium magnets to a rotor, wind copper coils on a stator, and when the rotor turns, electricity comes out. No fuel, no combustion, no emissions, no monthly bill. The magnets don't wear out. The copper doesn't degrade. The physics doesn't expire. A well-built PMA produces electricity for decades with zero fuel cost. Now here's where it gets interesting. The most common objection is, what makes the rotor spin? The answer depends on what you have. Wind, water, a bicycle, even body heat can be converted to rotation. But the simplest and most overlooked method costs about $15 in materials. A thermoelectric generator, or TEG, converts heat directly into electricity with no moving parts. It uses the Seebeck effect, discovered in 1821. When you create a temperature difference across 2 different metals joined at their ends, electrons flow from the hot side to the cold side. No turbine, no generator, no magnets, no spinning. Direct conversion of heat to electricity. A single TEG module costs $3 to $5 online. It's a flat ceramic square about 40 millimeters wide. You put the hot side against a heat source and the cold side against a heat sink. A campfire, a wood stove, a candle, even compost heat can power it. One module produces about 5 to 8 watts. That's enough to charge a phone, run LED lights, or power a small radio. 3 modules wired in series produce 15 to 24 watts. That runs a laptop. But $15 doesn't stop there. You can amplify that output with a boost converter, which costs about $2. A boost converter takes a low voltage and steps it up to a usable level. A TEG outputs about 3 to 5 volts. The boost converter steps that up to 12 volts, which is the standard for charging batteries, running 12-volt appliances, and feeding an inverter. Here's the complete system for under $15. 3 TEG modules at $4 each equals $12. 1 boost converter for $2. Scrap aluminum for heat sinks, free. Total, $14. You now have a solid-state electricity generator with no moving parts, no fuel cost, and no maintenance. It runs 24/7 as long as there's a temperature differential. In winter, that's easy. The air is cold and any heat source works. In summer, you can use solar heat against cool earth. Let's compare the economics. The grid costs you $137 per month. Over 10 years, that's $16,440. A basic TEG setup costs $14 and produces free electricity for the life of the module, which is typically 20+ years. Even if you scale up to a 100-watt system with 12 modules and a proper battery bank, the total cost is about $80. That system pays for itself in 3 weeks. The power company doesn't want you to know this because their business model requires your dependency. They've spent decades lobbying against small-scale distributed generation. They've fought net metering laws, imposed grid connection fees, and in some states made it illegal to disconnect from the grid entirely. Think about that. In certain jurisdictions, it is literally against the law to not buy their product, but physics doesn't care about regulations. The Seebeck effect works whether or not your utility company approves. A TEG module sitting on a wood stove generates electricity regardless of what the local ordinance says. You can't regulate thermodynamics. Now let's scale this up intelligently. A single TEG module is a proof of concept. But a serious off-grid system combines multiple energy harvesting methods. Here's a $50 system that provides genuine energy independence. First, 4 TEG modules on your wood stove or rocket stove, 20 to 30 watts continuous. Second, a small 12-volt battery, 15 are used. Third, a 150-watt inverter, $12. Fourth, LED lights and USB charging, $5 in cables. Total, roughly $50. This system provides lighting, phone charging, radio, and small appliance power indefinitely, with zero monthly cost. The most important number in off-grid electricity isn't watts or volts. It's dollars per watt-hour over the lifetime of the system. A grid connection costs about 15 cents per kilowatt-hour, which is 0.015 per watt-hour. A TEG system, after the initial $14 investment, costs 0 per watt-hour for 20 years. The math is not close. Here's what the power company fears most. When enough people understand this physics, the centralized grid becomes optional. Not obsolete, but optional. And an optional service can't charge monopoly prices. The moment you generate your own electricity, even just enough to charge your phone, you've broken the psychological dependency. You've proven to yourself that electricity doesn't require a corporation. The real equation is this: heat differential plus thermoelectric material plus time equals free electricity. No engineering degree required, no permits, no monthly payment, just physics and $15. What's generating heat in your home right now that you're not converting to electricity? Tell me in the comments.